Chamish Asa Bishvat is Thursday, and I was given the topic of Chamish Asa Bishvat. So I'll start with Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah is a funny concept, right? We know Rosh Hashanah from Aleph Tishrei. Rosh Hashanah is the head of the year. What is the meaning of the head of the year? The head, what's the head of a person? The head of a person is not just another organ. The head of the person is the whole person. In the head you have the brain, and the brain you have the neshama, and everything meaningful and valuable has to do with the head. Or to say it in other words, when a baby forms, the first thing that forms is the head, is the nerve center, and everything radiates from that. And even after we're born, the brain gets the neshama, it distributes the neshama, the brain feels the body, it keeps the body together, it heals the body, it looks after the body. That's what the head does. So we make such a big deal out of Rosh Hashanah, Aleph Tishrei, because we believe that what happens in those 48 hours is a microcosm of the whole year. The Rabbeim, we have indications that the Rabbeim used to say that in Rosh Hashanah they see the whole year. In the 48 hours of Rosh Hashanah they see the whole year. Because the 48 hours of Rosh Hashanah are ahead for everything that's to do with the year. Okay, it's an interesting concept. One day or 2 days that is a microcosm, is a miniature version of everything that's going to happen in the whole year, and what you do on that day, on those days, affects the whole year. So Rosh Hashanah, we're like really holy, we're very serious, we don't waste any time, we say Tillim, we try not to talk, we try not to sleep more than we must, try not to eat more than we must, because what happens at Rosh Hashanah affects the whole year. So the Mishnah says we get 4 Rosh Hashanahs, 1, 2, 3, 4. Arba Rosh Hashanah. The first Rosh Hashanah is Aleph Tishrei. The second Rosh Hashanah, it is a machlokes between Beis Hillel and Beis Shammai, but we pass like Beis Hillel, it's Chamisha Asa Bishvat. The third Rosh Hashanah is Aleph Nisan, Rosh Chodesh Nisan. And the fourth Rosh Hashanah is Rosh Chodesh Elul, which is called Rosh Hashanah L'Maaseh Behema. Rosh Hashanah for the tithe on animals. Which is, you know what animals are, right? When a herder, a man who's farming animals has babies, 1 out of 10 is meiser, and there's a cutoff point. You have to separate the animals born before Rosh Chodesh Elul from the animals born after Rosh Chodesh Elul, and I'm assuming it has to do with the seasons when animals birth. I don't know, I'm assuming. We have 4 Rosh Hashanahs, 4 days, that for 4 different things are called Rosh Hashanah. This day is the head of the year for everything connected to, finish the sentence. Now, Rosh Chodesh Nisan, nobody makes any big deal out of Rosh Chodesh Nisan. Nobody eats, boxer on Rosh Chodesh Nisan. Rosh Chodesh Nisan is Rosh Chodesh for Yom Tovim. Rosh Chodesh Nisan is the Rosh Hashanah for Yom Tov. Yom Tov is a pretty important thing, right? Rosh Chodesh Nisan is the Rosh Hashanah for Yom Tov. Pesach is the first Yom Tov. But the Rosh Hashanah for Yom Tov is not Chashmish, it's not Tezvav Nisan. Rosh Chodesh Nisan is the Rosh Hashanah for all Yom Tovim. Rosh Chodesh Tishrei is Rosh Hashanah for us. We get judged for the whole year Rosh Hashanah, and the halacha is that it has to do also with Israel, with seeds, grain. Their new year is also Rosh Hashanah. The Chamish Asa Bishvat, which is this Thursday, is Rosh Hashanah Le'ilan. For fruits, for trees and for fruits. So practically that means that how tasty a fruit is going to be this year is going to be determined in 4 days, 3 days hence. On Thursday, the Abish is going to decide how tasty the peaches are going to be, whether it's going to be cold in Florida and the oranges are going to freeze and the price of orange juice is going to go up and things like this. Everything is determined on Chamisha Asa Bishvat. It's the Rosh Hashanah Le'ilan. Which is, of course, a very, very interesting concept. Rosh Hashanah Le'ilan. It's the head of the year when it comes for fruit. So I want you to think about this just for a second. What is the practical reason? What is the down-to-earth reason why Chamisha Asa Bishvat is Rosh Hashanah Le'ilan? Does anybody know? What's the practical reason? Why is Chamisha Asa Bishvat Rosh Hashanah Le'ilan? Does anybody know? Because trees go to sleep. Because trees go to sleep, right? We don't use the word hibernation, but that's exactly what they do. They hibernate. Trees go to sleep. What happens when trees go to sleep? They look dead. The leaves fall off, except if they're called evergreen, which is an interesting thing. What's the Hashanah Le'ilan for an evergreen? And I added another thing. Evergreens don't have fruit. What would happen after Mashiach comes? when evergreen trees are going to have fruit. So how are you going to measure the new year for the fruit, for the evergreens? It's going to be complicated. I'm going to give you a modern day example for that. Esrog. Esregim don't have a season. They keep growing, right? You know that. Esregim keep on growing. You can leave an esrog on a tree for 3 years, and it grows and it grows and it grows and it grows. Rosh Hashanah for esregim is very weird. You have to keep 2 Rosh Hashanahs for esregim. From Aleph Tishrei till Chamish, it's a very confused because there's no season. Fruit, Rosh Hashanah, Le'il, Chamish, Asa Bishvat, because trees go to sleep, and they wake up. They wake up Rosh Chodesh Shvat, but we don't have Rosh Hashanah and Rosh Chodesh Shvat, even though they woke up, because you don't see that they're awake for 2 weeks. Chamish, Asa Bishvat, you begin to see buds on the trees. Now, in case you live in Brooklyn, you don't see buds on the trees. On Thursday, don't feel bad, because this goes by Eretz Yisrael. In Eretz Yisrael, the trees go to sleep. They wake up Chamish, they wake up Rosh Chodesh Shvat, like Beis Shammai says. You see 2 weeks later buds, so you Rosh Hashanah Le'ilah. Esrog doesn't have a season. It keeps on growing. So it's very, very hard to fix Rosh Hashanah for an esrog because it continues to grow. And again, after Mashiach comes, when there'll be fruits on evergreen trees, when you get Rosh Hashanah, how are you going to figure it? It just keeps on growing. And by the way, there's another example. I don't know how much people know about agriculture. All the agriculture I know from the Gemara, which is not that much. Figs. You know, figs don't have a season. Te'enim. Figs keep on growing. They're always growing. And there's nafkaminas halacha. There got to be certain things. If you have to give certain matanes, figs are different than other fruits in the way they're like esregim. Figs ripen and fall off trees. A fig stays on a tree for a few weeks and processes. An esrog just stays on the tree. Keeps on growing. Gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. I was in the esrog store. The guy showed me an esrog this big. I said, that must be 3 years old. No, that's 1 year old. He said, how big would an esrog look? Mamish the size of a watermelon. If you leave an esrog on a tree, it continues to grow. So the technical reason for why Chamisha Asa Bishvat of the Shoshana Le'ilan is because the tree went to sleep in the wintertime. And it woke up when it got spring. I mean, it's not spring yet exactly, but it's going towards spring, meaning in Eretz Yisrael, the weather is already beginning to get a little bit warmer. And the sap, which went into the ground, climbs back up into the bark and goes up into the branches, and you start to see buds, and then eventually you're going to see leaves, and you see buds, and you're going to see fruit. So Chamisha Asa B'Shvat is Rosh Hashanah, that's the technical reason. Now, who cares, right? Who cares? Rosh Hashanah for the fruits. I got enough to say, oh, Rosh Hashanah. Why do I have to worry about Rosh Hashanah for fruit? Rosh Hashanah for Aleph Tishrei is enough. It's haunting me enough, right? Who cares? So again, on a practical level, it has to do with matana. Right? Every year, you just to give truma. Every year, you just to give meiser. And every year, you just to give meiser sheni or meiser ani. The first year and the second year, the fourth year and the fifth year, you give meiser sheni. The third year and the sixth year, you give meiser ani. So if the fruit grew before Chamish Asa B'Shvat, it's a part of the year before. If the fruit grew after Chamish Asa, the year after, and it's a nafkamina, what matana you have to give? It comes Shemitah, right? Shemitah is from Rosh Hashanah to Rosh Hashanah. The fruit that grows on the tree till Chamish Asa B'Shvat in the Shemitah year is part of the 6th year, you can eat it. The fruit that grows on the tree in the 8th year, if it ripens before Chamish Asa B'Shvat, has to do with the old year, or whatever the halachas are. And it's Shemitah. So it makes a big difference. Rosh Hashanah Le'ilan, for people who have to keep halachas like these, we in America, you buy the fruit in the store. You know the old joke. A guy goes to Israel and somebody tells him you have to be very careful, it's Shemitah. He says, don't worry, I'm only going to eat fruits and vegetables. Whoever thought fruits and vegetables need a hechsher? If you're born and raised in America, fruits and vegetables, you might place in Eretz Yisrael, fruits and vegetables are a bigger problem than meat and chicken. Because half the people don't even know that there's dinim of kosher and not kosher. There got to be fruits and vegetables. Shvius is very serious. Shemitah is very serious. Terumah Mais is also very serious. These are serious things. And it gets very complicated, and you have to know the halachas. And that's where Chamisha Asa B'Shvat, Rosh Hashanah Le'ilah, become a practical thing. If the fruit grew, was whatever the case is, that it was sufficiently developed before Chamisha Asa B'Shvat, it belongs to last year. If it wasn't developed till after Chamisha, it belongs to the next year. And so these are practical things. But there's a spiritual side to all of this. Chamish Rosh Hashanah Le'ilan is a spiritual thing. And it's Rosh Hashanah. It's a fascinating thing. Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah. The Chassidus explains it this way. A human being needs to survive. A human being needs to survive. To survive, you need bread. But a human being also needs a quality of life. A human being needs to have pleasure in his life, or her life. And I don't mean this in a grubber way, in an animal way. It's part of the human being's nature. A human being needs to have things which he must have, which he uses for pleasure. And the things that you have for pleasure also help you. They help you serve the Eibishter, like it says in Tanya. That one of the Amirayim was asked a question. He says, I haven't eaten my meat meal yet. I haven't eaten my fat meat yet today, so I can't answer. My brain isn't sharp enough. Pleasure benefits a person. Of course, pleasure is a tricky thing, especially in our generations where there's so much pleasure available for us. It becomes an addiction. It becomes a destructive thing. But a human being needs to survive. For this, you need bread. And a human being needs pleasure. For this, you have to have fruit. The Rosh Hashanah for bread is the same Rosh Hashanah that we have, Aleph Tishrei. The Rosh Hashanah for pleasure is Rosh Hashanah Le'ilan, Chamesh Asa Bishvat. Because fruit, peiros, fruit, are considered something that the Eibishter gave us just for the benefit of giving us pleasure. Leihanes behem b'nei Adam. You know, there's a bracha that we say in Nisan. You know that bracha? You ever say that bracha? Then in Chodesh Nisan, if you see blossoming trees, you make a bracha. The Eibishter made beautiful fruit for the purpose of giving pleasure to people. Are you familiar with that bracha? Anybody know that bracha? Yeah. I'm just curious, how many of you have studied this page? How many times have you looked at this page? It's after Tfilas HaDerech and before benching. Huh?
A bunch of times.
A bunch of times. Good for you.
Can't even find the button I'm trying to find on it.
And it's not even right, the bracha's not even here. The one you want isn't even here, huh?
Yeah, that one.
The bracha that we want is not even on this page. It's in the Hayom Yom. But there's a bracha that you make. You want to come and take your siddur back? There's a bracha that you make for Hashem making beautiful fruit, peiros nois, and I don't know the bracha by heart. Give people pleasure. The Eibishter made things in this world to give people pleasure. And the Rosh Hashanah for people having pleasure is Chamesh Asa Bishvat. Interesting. Think about it. There's a new year, there's a head of the year for pleasure. There's a new year, there's a head of the year for survival, for living. That's Rosh Hashanah, Aleph Tishrei. Aleph Tishrei is Hashanah L'Zroyim. Zroyim means chita and teina, chita and sa'ira, grain, and legumes, beans, seeds. Their Rosh Hashanah, their season is from the fall to the summer. They ripen in the spring, they're harvested in the beginning of the summer, the middle of the summer, and they're eaten. Fruit, the Rosh Hashanah for fruit, which is by definition for pleasure, is Chamesh Asa Bishvat. Now, of course, you know this, the Rebbe spoke about this so many times, that we say Beir Nefashis. Beir Nefashis Rabbis V'chesreinon. That's thanking Hashem for things that you must have, like water, or eggs. I don't want to say meat, although because meat is also for pleasure. Yeah? Al keil masha barasa lahachis bahem is for fruit. Al keil masha also lahachis bahem is for things that you eat that you don't need, that are there simply to give a person pleasure. The Eibishter made things in His world to keep us alive.
But you need water, and you say pleasure.
Right. So there's two parts. Beir nefashis rabbi v'chesreinon. You speak Hebrew? Hashem created people and their needs, so that goes for water and for things that you must have. And then al koil masha baras lahachis behem goes on things that the Eibishter created that we can do without. And He gave them to us simply to have pleasure. You understand? It's two different parts of the brach. So Rosh Hashanah le'ilanes, Chamesh Asa Bishvat, Rosh Hashanah le'ilan, is a day, a Rosh Hashanah, ahead of the year, that the Eibishter gave us for pleasure. Isn't that interesting? I think it's very interesting. The most interesting thing about it is, I thought the Eibishter was into Iskafia. I don't know. Maybe he didn't get a copy of the Tanya. The Eibishter creates a world, and He puts in this world things that you don't need to have. He put them there just for pleasure. Now, I want to digress. I want to get back to the pleasure soon. But before I go talk about pleasure, I want to go back to another topic, okay? I'm going to ask you a question. You guys lived in high school. You're not all Nikas. Yeah, go ahead.
Does Geschmack learning in terms of considered also apply?
I would say absolutely yes, and that's where I'm trying to go. But don't ruin my speech, please, okay? I'm going to be out of a job. You guys went to high school and you learned stuff. So I'm going to ask you a question. We know that in biology, everything has an explanation. Everything has an explanation. If an animal has an extra claw, there's a reason. If an animal has a longer neck, it has a reason. If it has a longer nose, everything has a reason. Everything has a reason. Sometimes we know it, sometimes we don't know it, right? I want to ask you a reason. Why are fruit so beautiful and so tasty? They're brightly colored and they taste good. Why are fruits so beautiful and so tasty? Now let me give you the scientific perspective, okay? Nothing likes to be eaten. Nothing likes to be eaten. Right? Animals, you try to eat them, they say, oh, please come and eat me for lunch. I was created, you should eat me, right? There's a Gemara about this. You know the Gemara, that there was an animal that was going to the Shechita. An animal was going to the Shechita. And the animal knew that it was going to be killed. So it ran over to Rabbeinu HaKadosh, the author of the Mishnah, and it hid under his coat. The animal knew it was going to be killed. And that's Tzar Ba'alei Chayim. The animal's not supposed to know. So Rabbeinu HaKadosh pushed the animal away and said, go, this is why you were created. And because of this, I can't hear you. For this, it's 13 years of Yeshurei Mavis. He had kidney stones. Rabbeinu HaKadosh, he used to scream so loud. You can hear from Tveria to Tzipori, he's screaming because he showed lack of mercy on an animal that was being taken to a Shechita. It's a Gemara. So the animals, nothing likes to be eaten. The Eibishter made the world that everything is eaten. We're also eaten, if we're not eaten alive, after you pass away, there's maggots. Don't tell anybody, but it happens quite quickly. They come and eat us, unless we're tzaddikim, big tzaddikim. Everything it's a cycle. Life begots life. That's the Eibishter made the world. But nothing said, oh, please eat me. Nothing. Trees create defenses. They create thorns. They create leaves that are hard to digest. Every single, in biology, in science, you learned everything wants to preserve itself. There's one exception to that rule. Fruits. Fruits are big and tasty, and they have sometimes honey oozing out of them, like, please eat me. Now, what is the reason for this? So the answer in biology in science is, because the fruit is actually the tree's way of getting itself replanted. So the tree wastes energy to produce fruit, and it makes a big announcement, please come and take me and eat me. Which the trees don't like. The trees don't say, please come take my branches, but it does say, please come and take my fruit. Why? Because the animal eats the fruit and carries the seeds in its gut, and it goes a distance and it drops it, and it has automatic fertilizer, and it germinates and it grows again. That's the scientific explanation. Why are fruits pretty? Why are fruits tasty? They have no defenses because the tree wants you to carry the fruit away, right? What does it say? They say a whole other story. The Eibishter made trees to produce fruit that should be tasty and pretty, so people should have pleasure. Yeah, so who's right? The Torah or the scientist? It's 2 points of view, right? If you see the web of life as a circle, then everything serves everything. We don't see the web of life as a circle. We see the web of life as a line. The doimim turns the tzemeach feeds the chai, and the tzemeach and the chai feed the medaber, and the medaber feeds the Eibishter. So both are true. Biologically, it's true that when you eat fruit and you leave seeds, it can help the tree regrow. But api Torah, that's not the real reason the Eibishter made it this way. It's a secondary reason. The real reason the Eibishter made it this way is that the fruit should be tasty and pretty for people to enjoy. So how Chassidus is Rosh Hashanah L'Ilan, huh? It sounds like a modern Orthodox Yom Tif or we all talk a whole day. We hear a lesson on Iskafia. And then you have a Rosh Hashanah for pleasure. That's what it is. Fruits, the Eibishter created, we don't need fruit. You can live on bread. Ask the Russians. But real bread, not the way we refine the bread and take anything value and make it poison. Bread, you can live on bread. No, they made this became a new shtick in the last 20 years. What do they call it? Sourdough bread. Now the sourdough bread has become the same junk, it's no longer the real thing. In the beginning, you had to have a real yeast, you had to know how to make it, then they got lazy, so you charge more money and you make the same junky bread. Became commercialized, finished, ice. You can live on bread. But the Eibishter gave us fruit. So apparently the Eibishter does want us to have pleasure. So machlokes is between the Eibishter and your mashpia. No, don't do it. Don't enjoy it. Eat at l'shem shamayim, as they state in Tanya. So which is it? Which is it? It's both. How can it be both? So you know the Chassidus, you've learned this before. There's two perspectives. One perspective is Dayach Masha Asra Teira. Dayach, Dalad Yud Chof, Ma Mem Hey, She Asra Shin Aleph Samach Reish Hey, Teira Tov Vav Reish Hey. Dayach Masha Asra Teira means don't be frumer than the Shulchan Aruch. If it's kosher, enjoy it. Hashem said meat is kosher, eat. Ask us to eat. Fruit is tasty, eat. Not a scaffy, enjoy. The Eibishter made it for you. I have a modern Orthodox friend. We learned Tanya for many years. So he brought me up and said, Yerushalmi. It came up in the Tanya class. He gets very upset when he hears about people not enjoying Gashmias. He's a wonderful man. The Eibishter made the world for us to enjoy. What's this business we're not allowed to enjoy the world? It bothers him. The whole Musar approach bothers him. He happens to be an incredibly disciplined man. He doesn't understand what laziness means and being overweight means and overeating means. He doesn't understand those things. So therefore he doesn't understand why a person can't just simply say, well, if the Eibishter gave it to you, enjoy it. Because he's by nature a very disciplined person. He's a hard-working man. But some of us struggle with that. But the Mishnah says, the Chazal say, don't be from an Eibishter. Dayach mash asad. You know how far that halacha goes? Dayach mash asad goes? That a Nazir who separates from wine brings a korban chatas. A Nazir separated from wine. Oh, and by the way, a Nazir could be a woman also. Brings a korban chatas. Why? Because Hashem gave you wine to enjoy. And you decided, I'm not going to enjoy wine. So you bring a korban chatas for depriving yourself one of the Eibishter's pleasures. It's only 12 o'clock, right? That's a false alarm, right? Or somebody else's alarm. Okay. Yeah. So that's one perspective. If they,
How do you go along with the premature today?
No, wait. Let me finish. There was the other side of the coin. The other side of the coin is, this is the Pirkei Avos, you know this also. The Dorim, Syag, Laprishus. You want to be Parush, you want to be pure, you want to be holy, you want to be closer to the Eibishter, make an edit. This is kosher, I don't need it. This is permitted, I don't have to have it. This fruit looks beautiful, I don't need it. So this is a contradiction in Chazal, in Gemara. One part of the Teresh Balpeh tells you, don't be from the Eibishter. What's the best example? What is the best example of Dayach Masha Asa Tei? Does anybody know? Very good. That Adam told Chava that Hashem said not to touch the tree. And the Nachash knew that was a lie. Adam decided to be, like your teachers, extra from, paranoid. He didn't trust his wife. So he told Chava, you can't eat the fruit and you can't touch the tree. So the Nachash pushes Chava against the tree. She touches the tree. He says, look, you didn't die from touching it, yeah? You won't die from eating it either. So Adam made a mistake. He made a fence, a susi agla teira. It doesn't make you a susi agla teira. Make a fence around the teira. Adam should not make a fence around the teira. So which is it? And because he made a fence, Chava realized that Adam doesn't know what he's talking about. She ate from the fruit. She gave some of the fruit to him also. And we all know what happened to the rest of our history because of this. Yeah? By the way, the eating from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, it was going to happen. Okay, don't feel bad about it. It was God, the Eibishter wanted it to happen. We blame him and so on, but it had to happen. It was part of the plan. The Eibishter was going to make sure that we have to struggle. He wasn't going to make it easy for us. Don't kid yourself. But the way it played out was that Adam was machmir. And you're not supposed to be machmir. That's one point of view. So how do you reconcile those two things? How do you reconcile the Eibishter made the world for me to enjoy, plus if you want to be proper, practice discipline, have self-control, and things that you desire you shouldn't have, and so on and so forth. Right? You all know the story with Shmuel Munkis. Shmuel Munkis was a very, very big chassid. This is a story that Lakutei Deburim brings. In other words, the stories of Shmuel Munkis are a dime a dozen. But the stories of Shmuel Munkis are probably not true unless you have a good source, because they make Shmuel Munkis sound like a clown. And Shmuel Munkis was no clown. He was a deep man, a very intelligent man. He was Madregas Tzaddik, Shmuel Munkis. He wasn't a little kid who tripped over the steps and broke the eggs. because he forgot to come home when he went to the Rebbe for Tishrei. That's so ridiculous. But there are the true Shmuel Munke stories are in the Sichos. And this story is in the Sichos. There was a Farbrengen, and they ran out of the Farbeisen. There was no food left. So they went to the butcher, and they asked the butcher for more food for Farbeisen. He was sleeping. So his wife gave them the lung, which is like eating chewing gum without sugar and lungs. Think about it. The Shaychet didn't have too much money. So when the Shaychet shechted, he got certain parts of the animal as part of his salary. He got the brain, Amachaya, and he got the lungs, which nobody wants to eat. In the United States government, they won't let you. Throw it in the garbage. So she had to prepare lung. I don't know how you do it, but you have to really, really curate it. You have to beat it, and you have to soak it. It should become edible. Anyway, she prepared a lung, and she gave it to them to eat, and then 10 minutes later, she comes running in, and she says, the lung I gave you is today. I gave you the wrong one. What happened in between the time that she gave them the lung, and she came to them, lung was today? Shmuel Munkes took the plate of lung, and he put it in front of him. I'm going to eat the ganze mice. And he put his hands around it. This is mine. And they said to Shmuel, okay, take a piece and pass. No, it's mine. Anyway, he held on to the lung. He wouldn't let anybody have. And the people got nervous, so they started to pull, and he didn't let. So when he couldn't stop them from taking it away from him, he got up and started walking around. So they started chasing him. It became a fourth grade classroom. He's holding the lung and they're chasing him. Anyway, they cornered him, so he threw the whole thing in the garbage. The ganze meise. Now Shmuel Munkus was about Ruach HaKodesh. Don't kid yourself. But this is how the story is written. So they said to him, what's this? And they put him on the table and they gave him petch. So we have food from Fabrega. You take it away from us. The whole Fabrega is about the food. Ask the boys, they'll tell you. Anyway, after they finish giving his licking, she runs in again and said, my husband told you she needs treif. Oh, we didn't touch it. And now they turn back to Shmuel Munkus a second time. He said, whoa. Yivruch HaKodesh. Only Rebbes do this kind of thing. Rebbes geshtik, and they hit him a second time for Ruach HaKodesh. But they hit him different the second time than the first time. The guys giving him the wax were different people, and the amount of pain the wax had was less. Shmuel Munkus didn't mind the first beating, he didn't mind the second beating. He saved them all from eating treif. And they said to Shmuel Munkus, since when did you become a... No, it's not Ruach HaKodesh. He says, it was Ruach HaKodesh. Trust me, it was Ruach HaKodesh. I tried that, it didn't work with me. But the explanation that he gave was, when they brought in the lung, I wanted it so much. And the Alter Rebbe said to me in my first Yechidus, as jede Sach, was es will zu sehen, sollst du nicht haben. Anything which you truly, truly desire, don't eat it. If you really, really, really want it, don't eat it. So when that lung came in, I decided I was lusty for that little lung, you have no idea. But I saw how much you wanted it, so I said none of us should eat it. I threw it in the garbage. And he saved them from eating treifus. So that's the answer. The Eibishter made the world for pleasure. Pleasure is a good thing. It's part of who we are. It makes us better. And what you said, I want you to know that in the olden days they used to say that when you learn Torah and you enjoy it, it's a problem. Our Rebbe says if you learn Torah and you don't enjoy it, you didn't really learn it. You have to enjoy it. The proof that you understand, I know this myself, the proof that you understood a piece of Torah is that you walked away happy. It gives you pleasure. If you learn something in Torah and you feel frustrated, you didn't understand. So there's a place in Yiddishkeit for pleasure. But there's not a place in Yiddishkeit to become a slave to pleasure. And that's the line. When the pleasure helps you serve the Eibishter, it's a positive thing. When the pleasure makes you crazy, when it intoxicates you, when it makes you weak. I have a lot of weaknesses, trust me. I'm not going to tell you all of them because it's not good. It's not good for my public image, or my private image. But I have a weakness for food. I like to eat, and I like to eat bad food. I'm on a diet. I don't know if you noticed. I'm on a diet. I have to be on a diet because otherwise I have to take cholesterol medication. It's not like I'm a big tzaddik because I want to look good for the pictures. It's because the doctor said either you lose weight or you take cholesterol medication. I figured, okay, I don't mind taking cholesterol medications, but my wife doesn't really take cholesterol. So I lost a little weight. I have a diet. It's called intermittent fasting. I'm supposed to eat, and I break the diet from time to time, but I'm not bad. Believe me, trust me, I'm not bad. So Thursday night, I left Friday morning to Pittsburgh. So Thursday night, 12:30 at night, I opened the freezer. It was a beautiful Danish, a frozen Danish. I said, who does this belong to? My wife says, you want to eat this now? You want to eat this now? I said, yeah, I do. Anyway, I didn't eat it. It was a big mess. I put it back in the freezer. And then at 1 o'clock in the morning, half an hour later, I said, if I had eaten that Danish, I'd probably be up till 3. When you're my age, you guys can eat as much as you want, almost. But I eat one cookie for an hour, I have no brain. It's mamish that way. And I still eat the cookie. Why? Because I'm an idiot. Verstehst? So this is what the Torah is teaching us. Iskafia is not punitive. Iskafia, really, it's a wonderful thing. Iskafia is self-control. Now imagine you lived in a country where there wasn't enough food. Pashat, not enough food. I was in such a country. I visited Russia 35 years. There wasn't enough food. Wasn't enough food. So you eat. You live in a country like ours. There's so much food to be had. The best thing we could do for ourselves is say, no, you don't. You had enough. Stop eating. Stop eating. It's hard to do if you have bad eating habits like I do. You eat until you're plotting, and then you feel sick. Why'd you eat so? Stop. You should have stopped before. I know, but it looked so good, and I didn't feel full. That's all the explanations for why you do it. Iskafia is a good thing. So it's an interesting balance, and it plays a part in avodas Hashem, Chassidus. In other words, you want to be closer to the Eibishter, you need to own yourself. You want to be close to Hashem, you have to have self-control. Because if you want to be close to Hashem, you have to use your brain the way you want to. You have to also not use your brain in ways that you don't want to. You have to use your heart the way you want to. You have to not use your heart in ways that you don't want to. You want to be in control of your body. When you sleep and how much you sleep. And you want to feel clean. And if you overeat and you eat the wrong foods, it's a big cycle. It's a mess. So iskafia, when you hear it from your teachers, iskafia means you're supposed to suffer. But the truth of the matter is, iskafia is supposed to suffer. Iskafia means you're supposed to make yourself into a maximum person. With a clear head and a strong heart and not a belly that's distracting him or her because it's so full. Iskafia is a framework for, I hate to use a psychological term because I'm not speaking psychology but religion, for healthy living. It says in Hayom Yom that the reason for iskafia is bittul hataiva. It's interesting. I think it's around this time of year, maybe Yud Shvat. The reason for iskafia, Chassidim Arishim, the rebbe said that whatever you want, you shouldn't have, and the reason. You know what bittul hataiva means? What does taiva mean? Anybody? Lust, not lust, desire, lust, right? I translate taiva as weakness, because that's what it is. You walk into the l'chaim, l'chaims are a problem. Why? It's after hours. You already ate. You sit around for a long time, and the food is saying, just have one. Just sitting on the table. Just have one. And you know what's going to happen if you have one. And it sits there, you're talking to your friends, and you're hanging around, and you're so happy for your friend who became engaged. And the candidates are saying, just eat one. That's all, just eat one. They put the food on. And you know what's going to happen if you eat one. You can eat up the whole bowl. And then you're going to feel sick. So you go to the next table, get the next bowl, eat those ones up also. At least that's what happens to me. I don't know, maybe you guys have a lot of self-control. So Torah says, Chassidus says, teach yourself self-control. Teach yourself no. Because the better you have the ability to control yourself, the more able you are to, again, I'll say the psychology, to live a meaningful life. The more able you are to connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's iskafia. But iskafia is only that way if you choose it, not if somebody else forces you. I'm not going to let you eat candy because I want to do iskafia, so I'm doing iskafia for you. That's not iskafia. Iskafia means teaching yourselves the lesson of self-management, of self-control. So you have this balance. On the one hand, dafnish, no medafnish, you don't need it. On the other hand, the Eibishter created this world for us to enjoy. And it's true. The Eibishter created every Pesach, Chedesh Nissen, it's not on that page. We have the Hayom Yom at the end of Nissen, where it says, Mevarchim birchas ha'ilon. It is a minhag Chabad to say the bracha on trees. That you go out into the Crown Heights streets. There's about 4 trees that actually are supposed to have fruit. Not a single one of them has any fruit, but don't tell nobody they're fruit trees. And if you see the blossoms, you can make a bracha. The Eibishter made Peides Teves and Yilones Teves, beautiful fruit and beautiful trees. Lehones Bahem B'nei Adam. To give people pleasure. And that is not a misnagdish bracha. You understand? It's a chassidish bracha. Yeah, what about iskafia? That's the answer. Iskafia is very important. But the reason for the iskafia is for avodas Hashem. And pleasure is important. The reason for the pleasure is avodas Hashem. A real example that we could all relate to is the idea of nice clothes. Right? The Gemara says, Rabbi Yochanan used to say that clothing are called covered. The Gemara says, Rabbi Yochanan used to call clothing honor. Because you feel differently when you're dressed up than when you're not dressed up. It's human nature. If a person puts on nicer clothing, they feel nicer about themselves. A person puts on not such nice clothes, they feel it's a fact. Now, it shouldn't be that way, but it is that way. So this is the other side. One side of the coin is you want to do the Lashon HaMishnah in the Dorim, Shagla Prishus. You want to make vows. You want to make fences, so you shouldn't get carried away with Taivas. And the other side of the coin is Dayach Masha Osra Teira. It's enough, but the Teira prohibited. If it's allowed, then you should. Okay? So in our lives, we have a little bit of Rosh Hashanah Aleph Tishrei, when you eat bread, Rosh Hashanah for bread, for Chita and Se'eda and Zroyim, and Chamisha Asa Bishvat, which is the Shana Le'ilan. There's two Rosh Hashanahs. There's a Rosh Hashanah which celebrates the fact that Hashem gives us food to keep us alive. There's a Rosh Hashanah where Hashem creates things that are just for pleasure, and a person has to figure out what's the balance between two Rosh Hashanahs. In other words, if Rosh Hashanah Aleph Tishrei, we have to work so hard, we got to do tshuva, we got to make cheshbon nefesh, and we're not allowed to talk for heaven's sakes for 48 hours. You got to say Tillim 5 times. Why? Hashem should be a good year, they should eat bread. Rosh Hashanah Le'ilan, it's not your Rosh Hashanah, it's the tree's Rosh Hashanah. But the tree was created for me. The Shes and the Bracha. Lyhadus ben b'nei Adam. Hashem didn't make beautiful fruit so there should be more trees. Hashem created more fruit that people should enjoy them. That's what it says in Siddur. That's what it says in Gemara. That's what it says in Torah. So Shoshana Le'ilan is the day where we're judged for how much pleasure we're going to have, or how well we're going to manage our pleasure. Interesting, huh? Very interesting. Very interesting. And the balance is this. The balance is this. Noch geben sich. For a person to be indulgent, it always ends bad. It's true, it always ends bad. You can enjoy life as much as you want. You don't become a better person because you have more things and you enjoy them. You become a better person because you own them and they don't own you. Right? The cell phone can either be the ultimate emancipator or the ultimate incarcerator. This phone can make you free because you can communicate with the whole world and you can look up any Gemara you want and any halacha you want and anything. By the way, I've found a few things that Google does not able to find. All the things that I need to find, Google can't find for me. He's an anti-Semite. Maybe it doesn't work after 1 o'clock. I needed a few Machon yesterday. I couldn't find them. I typed 100 different ways. It could be an amazing thing. And it, I typed in Hebrew. What do you? I typed in the Chassidish words, and they said, "No, spit it out. I don't know what you're talking about." And then it could also be a prison. It could make you a slave. You sit there on your phone, and you can't miss out another message. And it's so. Who makes that determination? Who decides whether this is going to help me or is going to imprison me? And the answer is I do. I do. And the way I do is I figure out the correct balance between Dayach Masha Asatera and Nedorim Syag Laprishus. You have to make fences. Because if you don't have fences, if you don't control your life will run away with you. People get crazy pleasure. We live in an age, people, as much as we think, they tell you in the newspaper that it's a terrible time to be alive and people are suffering so much. The poor people alive today have more food to eat than rich people had 200 years ago. It's really true. But the world is terrible. Such a terrible, America's a terrible, terrible, terrible country. You come from a different country, you come here illegally, you get sick, you go to the hospital, you get free medical care, but it's a terrible country. It's really, really terrible. It used to be so much better, right? What was better? That if you were sick, you died. Why? There was no doctor. Finished. End of story. But no, it's terrible. It's terrible. But in our world, our weakness, our chesodin, our Achilles heel, is indulgence. We want to enjoy it. We want to have fun. We want to enjoy it. It's a good thing. But it's only good if it makes you a better person. Not if it makes you into a veritable animal. Mamish, about a person who just wants to enjoy himself, and as a human being, and as a ruchniistic human being, he becomes a slave to all this nonsense. And that's the balance between Rosh Hashanah Aleph Tishrei and Rosh Hashanah Chamisha Asa Bishvat. Someone had a hand raised. Talk loud.
Does Tu Bishvat actually are we actually judged for?
That's what it says. That's Naimodim. Yeah.
How much pleasure we're gonna have, or the trees are?
The tree was created for you. So you told me he was being judged.
Are we talking about just fruits, or are we talking about in general?
Trees. All trees.
So what do you do with that? When it says we were, what do you do?
Eat your heart out. Be miserable. You're doing that anyway. You don't need help from me with that. My job is not to ruin your day. My job is to make you think.
Yeah.
What you do with that information, we have customs. Chamisha, we have customs. The first custom is no tachnun. And it's a Thursday, so it's like a really good one. If we had Tuesday or Wednesday, it would be a pity. Chamisha, I say 4 pages. I hate those pages. Yeah. So that's the first thing. Then you're going to go and get new fruit, and of course your mother's going to buy you boxer, which you can't even bite into. I don't know what this boxer situation is. And you get a new fruit, you can make a shachayanu, you think about it. I don't think you have to do anything crazy. I want you to understand what I am telling you says in the Maimorim. I'm not making it up. I'm not that smart. There's a lot. There's a lot. There's a lot of Maimorim, Bishvat. And they talk about different themes. And this is one of the themes they talk about. Le'edun or le'tainuk. That this is a Rosh Hashanah has to do with pleasure. And the interface between these two. So anyway, you were in the middle of your question.
Yeah, so is it a Rosh Hashanah for pleasure, for like how much pleasure we're going to have this year? Or like for the trees, how much fruit they're going to give?
I think both. Primarily, there's different kinds of pleasure. Pleasure we don't only have from fruit. Pleasure we have from meat and chicken, right? When's that Rosh Hashanah? I don't know, Aleph Elul, whenever it is. But the idea is that there's a day where the Eibishter judges what he put in his world just for the purpose of Lehanes, Behem, B'nei Adam. It's an interesting concept. The Eibishter made fruit, not so there should be seeds, there's other ways of doing it, that people should enjoy. And that's what this day is.
You know the Yerim about Rivka, I think it was that the whole thing like eating davar involved with eating.
Yes.
How do you, in regards to Scafia, how do you what's about over obsessing about having Scafia and having just how do you get to the point of a Scafia without
getting carried away? You have mashpia, you have a rav, you talk to her. That's the first question, you have one. Second, you talk to her. Second, you listen to her. 1, 2, 3. I don't know you. I'm not your mashpia. It's very, very individual. It's very, very individual. But I know from my life how important it is to tell myself no. You know, I tell to the girls, but it's really something that I learned in my own life. Not that I'm good at telling myself no, by the way, but I say you will learn over the course of your long life, Mitzvah Hashem, that's one of the sweetest words in the English language is the word N-O. And it's never sweeter than when you tell it to yourself. It's never sweeter than when you tell it to yourself. You have no idea how real that is. So you have to figure out where's the escafia in your life. Not to punish yourself, not to be holy. Push it to be a mensch, to be in control of you. It's such a wow. It's such a simple idea, but it's such a wow idea. It really is. Now, I want to move on to another point. I want you to think about this, okay? On a higher level, this whole question of Rosh Hashanah Lizroyim and the kidney is Aleph Tishrei, Rosh Hashanah Lepedis, which is Chamish Bishvat, Chamish Le'ilan, about what you need to survive. Bein in the first is v'chesroinon, versus Al Kol Ma'asha Barasa L'Hachei Is Behem that Hashem gave us for pleasure. So specifically, we're someplace in the middle. Right? If a person came to me and said, "Oh, I'm only eating bread and water," right? The Rebbe would not be happy about that. I want to tell you something very interesting. A man came to the Rebbe who was a vegetarian, and he wanted to get the Rebbe to advocate against eating meat. Now, there's different reasons people are vegetarians. Part of the reason is because they don't want to indulge. The Gemara says, listen to this, people, okay? For this, you need a drum roll. Am ha'aretz asur lechol basar. That's not in Tanya, that's in the Gemara. Anybody speak Hebrew? Am ha'aretz asur lechol basar. An ignoramus is not allowed to eat meat. Why? Because all Talmidei Chachamim want it for themselves. The Chassidish Yidden, the Koil guys who don't work, they also want the best food. The Amaretz who works like a dog has to eat bread and water. What's the pshat? What's the pshat? If you can't elevate the meat, then the meat is going to drag you down. So if you're an Amaretz, the meat's going to drag you down. Don't do it. Now, last time I checked, Amaretz are eating all the meat. The only people doing a scafia are the ones who don't eat it. Isn't that ironic? Yeah. So I don't know too many people who follow that. It's not a halacha, but it is a gemara. Amma aretz. If you are a Baal Taiva, you shouldn't have taivas. But I don't think in our generations the right thing to do is you shouldn't eat any taivas. I think it'll be wrong. It's unsustainable. The low end of the line is if you do a scafia and it makes you depressed, bad idea. If you do a scafia and you feel bitter and angry because of it, then you shouldn't do a scafia. That's the low end. And there's a high end, but that's a for sure. If you undertake a certain discipline, a certain self-control, and because of it you're nervous or you're angry or in a bad mood, that's the proof that it's not for you. So to say you shouldn't enjoy it, but on the other hand, there is a place where we say, I will be happier if I would only eat. I mean, girls and boys have different nasagas, but yeah, for a girl it's a half a slice of pizza versus a whole slice of pizza. For a boy it's 3 slices or a whole pie, you know what I'm saying? Okay, it's 6 slices of pizza. But the hasag is ma'est. And the person says, no, I don't need this. Not all I don't need this because I'm probably self-control. It's pashat, not good for me. That's a skafia. And it gives you mastery over yourself. It does. You end up sleeping better. You end up sleeping less. You have a clearer head during the day, and you could serve Hashem better, you could learn Torah, you could understand, your head works. But the pizza's beckoning, and it's right in front of you. And the guilt of being uncomfortable because you overate is, right now it's academic until you finish eating the pizza, and then you wait 5 minutes, and then it kicks in, you know what I'm saying? But this is the balance, right? But on a higher level. So this man came to the Rebbe with the idea that the Rebbe should advocate vegetarianism. It's a true story. And I think he was a vegetarian not on health grounds. He was a vegetarian on moral grounds, about killing animals, tzaba l'chaim. There's a whole movement like that. And there's something beautiful for it. You can't say it's nothing. Even though they're cuckoo because they want you to follow them with their Kabbalah sale. Just like your teachers want you to listen to them with Kabbalah sale. They want you not to eat meat because they said. It doesn't work that way. But they can be militant and they can spray paint your fur coat and they can call you a murderer and all kinds of other things because they really mean well. And in America, if you really mean well, then you're a good person even if you're hurting other people because you really, really mean well. You really, really mean it. Really mean it. I really, really care about the trees and the animals. So this person came to the Rebbe and proposed that the Rebbe should advocate vegetarianism. The Rebbe told him that not eating meat is for yechidei segula, for special people. The chidah, I think it brings from the chidah, the Rebbe mentioned to him that he didn't eat meat. Very special people didn't eat meat for the spiritual reasons, not only because of the tzaba l'chaim. Anyway, he walked out of yechidus, this man. The story happened in the early 1960s. And the Bachanim surrounded him, and they asked him, what did the Rebbe say? So he repeated to him what the Rebbe said, that he asked the Rebbe about vegetarianism, and the Rebbe said to him, the Eibishter gave meat, people should eat it. After the Mabul, you know that before the Mabul, eating meat was murder. After the Mabul, eating meat was allowed. If you're allowed, you should have it. And the idea of not eating meat is Yechidus Kula. 40 years later, that man published a book and described his Yechidus with the Rebbe. And he writes in his book that I went into the Lubavitcher Rebbe and I proposed to him that there are people living vegetarians, and the Lubavitcher Rebbe agreed with me. He remembered it the way he wanted it to remember it. Now, why do I believe the Bachim and not him? Because the Bachim wrote it down right away. They wrote it down immediately that day, and they weren't personal. They wrote down that so and so, we know who his name is, walked out of the Rebbe's room, and he said they discussed with the Rebbe vegetarianism. And I asked the Rebbe, what does the Rebbe think about this? The Rebbe said, only for Yechidus, people are supposed to eat meat. And then that man, many years later, wrote a book, and he remembered what the Rebbe said, the way he wanted the Rebbe to say. And the Rebbe said something different. Unfortunately, the Bachanim, that's what Bachanim are for, got the truth. So it creates a bit of a problem, a dilemma. So of course you can say, what do you mean I was there? I said, I know. But you told us then, before you had a chance to reconstruct the Rebbe's words, and you said that the Rebbe said that not eating meat is v'yechidei segula. So in our lives, it's a very, I got no time left. It's individual. I just want to finish with this point. What's the ultimate model for these two ideas? The Dodam Sagra Pishas, I mean, the Skafia, that's pole 1. Dayach Mash Asra Teira, enjoy the physical pleasure, what's pole 2? What's the ultimate measure of that? The answer is that, a Beinani and a Tzaddik. Beinim have to do a Skafia, because of Yitzhahara. Tzadikim, tzadik, oichel, l'seiva nafshi. The biggest tzadikim, for them, the Eibishter made this food to be enjoyed. So in other words, in practical terms, in things we are a tzadik. If there's an area of taiva that you don't have, that you can enjoy. In things we are a beinani / Baal Tshuva. In the things that we're lustful to, that we have weakness towards, that's what we have in skafia. Okay, I'll see you when I see you.